Coming up on today's show, Uchenna Nwosu has been placed on injured reserve. We'll get the latest on his situation and also talk about the potential replacement options for Nwosu, of who the Seattle Seahawks could trade or sign in just a matter of moments. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Before we do, as we are just a few days away from the Seahawks matchup against the San Francisco 49ers, that means we are doing a sub-battle between Seahawks today and the 49ers report, seeing who can pick up the most subscribers between now and kickoff. I don't want to beat the Niners just on the football field. I want to beat them off the football field as well. For the latest happenings on your Seattle Seahawks each and every day on Seahawks Today, subscribe now for free. We'll be live for the Seahawks and Niners game coming up on Thursday. Got a live show on Wednesday. All of that and more right here on your Seahawks headquarters. Subscribe now, and we'll get started with today's show. So let's start with the latest on Uchenna Nwosu, as he was placed on injured reserve today with a thigh injury. But what is significant for the Seahawks, it doesn't necessarily mean he's done for the season, despite being placed on injured reserve. Here's more from Mike Garafolo of NFL Network, who put the following on X this morning, saying the Seahawks are expected to place edge rusher Uchenna Nwosu on injured reserve with a thigh injury suffered against the Giants, sources say. Another tough one for Nwosu, missed the first 4 games with a knee injury suffered in the preseason. Now, Nwosu's out at least the first 4 weeks of the year, but he could still return because even though he had that injury in the preseason that forced him to miss the first 4 games of the year, he wasn't placed on IR back then. If you get placed on IR twice, your season's over with. This is his first time on IR, so that leaves open the door for a possible return for him at some point this season. But even with all that said, while Nwosu is not technically done for the year, the Seahawks have to prepare for life without him at this point in time. He has missed a lot of football in the last 2 seasons at this point, and whether it's bad luck or he's injury prone, I'm not a doctor, I can't say, but if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you have to prepare for the worst and basically get ready to move on and act as if he's not there at that point and look at options to replace him at a much-needed position, at that edge rusher spot. You can never have too many pass rushers. In the good news for the Seahawks, at least in this case, is that there are some good options out there to replace Nwosu with. Let's start with Haason Reddick of the New York Jets. They just fired their head coach, Robert Saleh, today. There's a lot of problems going on in New York. Reddick was traded there this offseason from the Philadelphia Eagles. He's looking for a new contract. The Jets haven't given it to him. And based on the way the NFL rules work, he's not going to be traded back to Philadelphia. That's not a possibility. So that leaves open the door for Seattle to potentially come snag Reddick in. And they would likely have to get him the new deal that he's looking for. But his trade value for a player of his talent is not as much as you would expect. The Jets were able to bring him in with just a 3rd-round pick. This would be a big swing for Seattle if they were to go after Haason Reddick at this point. This could change everything for the Seahawks defense. The pass rush, what we've seen in the last few weeks, has been MIA. And you bring in a guy like Haason Reddick. If he's fully healthy, if he's up to strength and ready to go, then your defense goes from 0 to 100 real quick. Looking at Haason Reddick and his resume, he has been playing some of the best football of his life prior to this season, coming off back-to-back Pro Bowl appearances. A second-team All-Pro selection in 2022, was tied for the league lead in forced fumbles in 2022, had a lot of momentum prior to being traded, was a part of that Eagles team that went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, played a significant role on that Eagles defense. And you look at the production, the numbers speak for themselves, folks. 11 sacks last season, 16 in 2022, along with a lot of tackles for loss, 20 TFLs back in 2020. Haason Reddick, if you're the Seattle Seahawks and you can pull this off. I know there's some character concerns with Haason Reddick, but you are a desperate team at this point. You're trying to salvage your season, trying to save this defense. It might be time to pull the trigger and bring in Haason Reddick. Should the Seahawks trade for Haason Reddick? It's our pinned comment today. What do you think? Type T for trade, P for pass. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in. Let us know. T for trade, P for pass. Another option that is much cheaper for the Seahawks is a guy I really like, Emmanuel Ogbah of the Miami Dolphins. And Ogbah, I think, is your typical Mike Macdonald type of player. When you look at the guys that Macdonald has been successful with, right? You look at these veteran pass rushers that were at a cheap cost, from the Justin Houstons to the Jadeveon Clowneys to the Kyle Van Noys of the world. The list goes on and on. Ogbah kind of fits that same mold. He's had success. He was a part of a Super Bowl champion team with the Kansas City Chiefs, and he was a terrific player. I've loved him all the way back to his college days when he was playing for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. He was terrific back then, and he kind of revitalized himself going to Kansas City, and it was a difference maker on that Super Bowl team. He's been very good for the Dolphins when he's been healthy, but he has struggled to stay healthy at times. You look at the production numbers, and this season in 5 games played, he's had 2 sacks. He's off to a decent start to the year. Last year at 5 sacks in 15 games. You go back to 2021, had 9 sacks. In this system, with the way Mike Macdonald uses his pass rushers, I think 9 sacks is very doable for Emmanuel Ogbah here with this Seahawks team, and could do wonders to change things up for this defense to bring a guy like that in. Before we go any further in today's program, let's tell you about our sponsor, Game Time. It's game time, folks. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Whether you're looking for tickets to sporting events like your Seattle Seahawks, want to go see them play the Niners on Thursday, we got it, folks. They got the prices listed. You choose your seat, check out the seat views, get the visuals, see if you like that seat or not, and then you're checking out with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You might stumble upon a super deal. If you see a super deal, you can't pass up on that. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it Game Time? The link is in the comments and in the description of today's video. The last trade option, then we'll talk about some potential free agents that the Seahawks could bring in, is Deatrich Wise Jr. from the New England Patriots. And he's been kind of phased out of things in New England as that Patriots team, we saw them a few weeks ago against the Seahawks. They are not very good. They are in a transition phase where they are turning to their younger talent, and Wise appears to be kind of the odd man out of the equation there. I think he's a very underrated football player. I thought that he's had a pretty decent career to this point, and you look at what he's been able to do. Part of a Super Bowl championship. He does a very good job of getting after the quarterback. It doesn't always result in sacks. And I was hearing John Gruden talk the other day about how he could care less about pressures, that the only stat that matters is getting to the quarterback. But when you look at this Seahawks team, they'll take anything at this point. I just need you to make some contact. Just need you to deliver some blows. If you can get a sack, that'd be great. But the fact that he can get after the quarterback would be a huge difference to this Seahawks team. 99 total pressures in the last 3 seasons. That's tied for 42nd best in the National Football League. The last 4 seasons, he's already had 2 sacks to begin this year, 4.5 last year, 7.5 in 2022. This could be a good fit for Seattle at a relatively low cost. 2 more names to discuss in a moment, but first, pick one to trade for. You going with Ogbah, or are you going with Deatrich Wise Jr. Type EO for Emmanuel Ogbah. Type DW for Deatrich Wise Jr. Weigh in and let us know in the comment section below. Two potential free agent options for Seattle here. Let's start with Shaq Lawson as a potential possibility for this Seahawks team. And I look at Lawson, a guy that's waiting for his name to be called, that could be available immediately. This could potentially provide the spark that the Seahawks defense is looking for here. Former first-round pick out of Clemson by the Bills. He's been a journeyman. He's played with the Fens, the Texans, the Jets, the Bills. A lot of experience over the years. 109 career games played with 38 starts, in the NFL. And you look at the numbers here. This is what I talk about with Mike Macdonald and untapped potential. 3.5 sacks in 2022. 4 in 2020. I think Mike Macdonald can get more out of a guy like this. That's kind of the spark I'm looking for, where it doesn't cost you much and could provide some nice results. I don't think that there's much risk to a cheap signing with a guy like Shaq Lawson potentially there. Last on our list of potential replacements for Nwosu, a guy the Seahawks actually worked out this offseason, Randy Gregory, formerly of the Dallas Cowboys, the Denver Broncos, and the San Francisco 49ers. I will say this, though. He has been arguably the most overrated player in the National Football League. He's a huge name. Everybody knows who Randy Gregory is. But when you actually read into things a little further, you're not as impressed with what Randy Gregory has actually done on the football field. The former second-round pick out of Nebraska has played with the Broncos, the 49ers. He spent part of training camp with the Buccaneers recently, 61 career games played, 18 starts. No one has ever argued about Randy Gregory being a hell of an athlete. I mean, the guy looks like he was built in a lab by AI or some type of machines that Elon Musk was monitoring, but the results just haven't quite been there. 3.5 sacks in 2023, 2 sacks in 2022, 6 sacks in 2021, but there's some untapped talent there, and that's another guy where maybe Mike Macdonald feels he could potentially fix Randy Gregory. Maybe he could tighten the screws a little bit, give him some new batteries in the machine that is Randy Gregory potentially here, because there's just some untapped potential that hasn't been used to his full strength. If you had to pick one to sign, you going with Shaq Lawson or are you going with Randy Gregory? Type SL for Shaq Lawson. Type RG for Randy Gregory. Weigh in, let us know. Subscribe now to Seahawks Today for continuing Seahawks coverage each and every day here on the channel. I'm Tyler Jones. We'll see you next time.